Well, hello and welcome back to The Eagle's Nest, the summary of the book Soaring with the Eagles, the Copper Peak Story, authored by Charles Suprasinski, past president of the Copper Peak Board of Directors. The book is available at the Copper Peak Gift Shop, the usual book outlets, and at the Ironwood Historical Society, located in the depot in downtown Ironwood. In our previous chapter, Ironwood had just achieved its dream of winning the world's record for ski jumping on February 16, 1913 at Curry Hill. The world record of 169 feet by Ragnar Omtvedt was a fantastic achievement for the community and for all the members of the Ironwood Ski Club who had worked so hard to build and create a ski jumping scaffold and hill capable of holding the world's record in the new sport. The new record set by Ragnar Omtvedt kind of overshadowed how well the other riders, especially local youth, did in that same tournament. For example, Ben Lodegaard of Ironwood, competing in Class A, the professionals, earned a 5th place finish in a strong field of competitors. In Class B, which is the amateurs, Ironwood would place 3 skiers in the top 5, with John Job capturing the national amateur title. Sigurd Gustafsson would place 3rd and John Fieldset 4th. In Class C, which was boys, Ironwood would earn 4 of the top 5 places, with Ed Murrah 1st, Walter Brotland 3rd, Leonard Anderson 4th, and John Orby 5th. It's important to note that the notoriety surrounding the 1913 national meet would attract many new young skiers to the sport who would make their mark in the 1920s and 30s. Among those skiers would be a small group who would eventually build Copper Peak. From an international perspective, it could be argued that the golden era of ski jumping in the United States lasted about 12 years, from 1909 through 1920. The U.S. owned the world records during that decade. Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, Ironwood, Michigan, Steamboat Springs, and Dillon, Colorado claimed world distance records, but even then you'd have to say that ski jumping was in its infancy. But let's get back to 1914, the year that would turn out to be full of growing pains and adversity. The annual meeting of the Ironwood Ski Club would be a review of the club's achievements and expectations for the future. The ski club showed for the first time an interest in other winter sports. For example, Captain Jens Egan made an important proposal to the club that the club make arrangements for the building of a toboggan slide. There is an excellent location for a toboggan slide on the hill opposite the ski slide, Mount Zion. So, Ironwood had been basking in the limelight for a year with the new world's record. The club had held their 1914 tournament with over 5,000 people attending and really enjoying this new winter sport. Although no new records were set, everyone agreed that this was a very well-managed event. Everybody had a good time, and that Ironwood had demonstrated that they had the ski hill that was the greatest in the world. But did you ever hear the old saying, all good things must come to an end? Well, they sure did. Just about the time the Ironwood Ski Club was coming of age with the development of a strong contingent of highly talented ski jumpers, disaster laid waste to the hopes and dreams of the Ironwood ski jumping community on Saturday, June 27th, 1914, and it all came crashing down. The headline and story in the next edition of the Ironwood Times tells all. The headline said, "Fierce windstorm Saturday morning. Ski slide is wrecked." The story went on to tell us that the big ski slide on Curry Hill, just north of the city, on which world's records had been made, is a total wreck as a result of a windstorm which struck here early last Saturday morning and continued for some time. A peculiarity of this storm was that it was from the east, although the ski slide was well braced with guy ropes and had successfully withstood all the storms for a number of years, it went down from this onslaught from the east, probably not being braced enough against the wind from that direction. It was level to the ground, and the lumber that it was made of was so badly broken that practically none of it could be saved or used in the erection of a new slide. What a tremendous loss this must have been. One day it's there in all its glory, and suddenly it's gone. Not just slightly damaged, but destroyed. It would take a long time for the community to recover from this event. Secretary Ed Headland of the Ironwood Ski Club says the slide represents the investment of thousands of dollars. Regarding the building of another slide, he says that the matter will have to be taken up at the club's next meeting, which will be in late August. There has been some talk in the city to the effect of, wouldn't it be better to build a steel slide in place of the wooden one that was wrecked? The cost of a steel slide would be only about 20% more than a wooden one, and would not only be better and more sightly as a structure, but there would be no probability of its destruction by fire or windstorm, which is always the case with a wooden structure. Many of the ski towns now have steel ski slides, and they are considered the way to go now in every way. Mr. Headland will check on the approximate cost of building both wooden and steel ski slides, and will put the matter up to the membership of the ski club at the next meeting. Looking back more than 100 years, you can imagine the impact of the catastrophe at the hill on the skiing community. But ski jumpers are a determined group. The numerous smaller hills scattered throughout the Gogebic Range continue to attract many youngsters who would eventually make their mark in the sport. The dreams and aspirations of the local ski community, while dampened, never diminished. So, should Ironwood rebuild the Curry Hill slide? This was the issue facing the Ironwood Ski Club after the downing of the Curry Hill scaffold by high winds in June of 1914. Initially, there was a lot of enthusiasm to build the scaffold by the club. The challenges were formidable in designing a structure that was affordable, one that would enhance the jumping capabilities of the site, but would be durable to withstand the severest of weather conditions. This is what the community needed to do to join to support such an effort by the ski club. Well, the issue would take some 8 years to resolve, but the determination of the ski jumping community would ultimately prevail. But there would be challenges, would there ever be challenges, to rejuvenate the ski jumping sport in the area. So time does march on, and soon we had the holidays pass in 1915, and then 1916, and the boys who had taken the greatest interest in the ski sport for the last few years were telling us that they had decided that it is best to build another scaffold at the hill when a steel one can be afforded, and that there is not a better time than the present. Our people, meaning the community, are very prosperous at present, and we are sure that they would be willing to come across for an institution which has given us so much fine winter sport in the past. The local weekly newspaper, the Ironwood Times, played a big role in shaping public opinion and was urging that Ironwood rebuild the slide on the same hill, Curry Hill, for which our town has had a great reputation up to that time when the ski slide blew down, reviving the image, and we contend that this is of a considerable value to the city in many ways, not the least of which is the excellent advertising for our city. Leaders in the community were ever mindful of the potential of winter sports and wanted to encourage other greater winter activities patterned after the St. Paul Winter Carnival. So still in 1917, nothing had happened yet. But the Ironwood Times continued its support for the sport of skiing. The Times said, "We must again call attention to the opportunity we are missing in not giving more attention to winter sports. While nothing has yet been done regarding rebuilding of the ski slide, it is hoped that this work can be done in the coming season, so that the great sport may be resumed in the next winter. We believe that a winter carnival for 2 or 3 days, with the principal events being ski riding, tobogganing, and dog races, could be made into a fine success." The urging by the editor of the Ironwood Times began to produce results. In March of 1917, a large and enthusiastic crowd attended the annual meeting of the Ironwood Ski Club held at the Scandinavian Hall. The meeting turned out most satisfactorily, and new officers were elected. The matter of building a new ski slide at Curry Hill was taken up by the club, and it was unanimously decided to make arrangements for the building of a new slide. The following day, some of the officers of the club, with city engineer Goody, went to the hill and measured up the ground needed by the club. This would be a strip of land 1,000 feet deep and with a frontage of 430 feet, making in all about 10 acres. Arrangements will be made for the purchase of this strip of land and the building of a new slide as soon as possible. The land will cost about $800. This is 1917, and it is estimated the building of the new slide and other expenses will total from $2,000 to $2,500, which would be $40,000 to $50,000 in today's money. Everyone in the area was happy with the news of progress in getting Curry Hill and its impact on the city's reputation back. 1 month later, the United States entered World War I. Draft boards across the country were busy selecting young men to serve. More than 1,500 young men from Ironwood were drafted for service that year. Many undoubtedly were up-and-coming ski jumpers. The mood of the country changed, and recreational sports activities were essentially put on the back burner. Even though the war ended on November 11th, 1918, with the signing of the armistice, ski jumping came to a virtual standstill. As best can be determined, the Ironwood Ski Club dissolved and never made good on its commitment to rebuild Curry Hill. What a shame. There were no local competitions until 1922, when the Norrie Athletic Club organized a local competition on a smaller hill they developed in the caves area. Well, that about does it for this chapter and part 1 of Soaring with Eagles, the Copper Peak story of ski jumping on the western Upper Peninsula of Michigan. We talked about the very beginnings of ski jumping as a sport, the ways it came to America with the immigration of the Scandinavian peoples, and the development of the ski sport and other activities that made the sport grow in popularity and made their communities grow at the same time. Please join us again next time when we go into the second decade of the 20th century, when ski jumping continues to grow in popularity. Yes, it'll be 1920 through 1930 when we meet again on the Eagle's Nest. We're heard in the USA Central Time at 6 a.m. and 11 a.m., as well as 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. And of course, a reminder that the Copper Peak Hill and Gift Shop is open 7 days a week from 9:30 to 4:30 during the summer and fall, with staff on hand to provide information and assistance for the adventure ride to the top of the hill. Till later, this is your narrator, Dan McManaman, saying so long and see you next time. Thanks for listening.